Come with me if you want the review of the Terminator on 4K. I'll be back. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub. Oh, sorry, let me take these off. Your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And look, guys, I'm excited. I am genuinely excited to talk about this release today. Look, I say I'm excited all the time to talk about this release, to talk about this 4K, review this 4K, unbox this release, talk about this next great piece of physical media. But look, guys, I am so excited. I am ecstatic, if you will, to talk about the Terminator on 4K. We finally got it. Just like Nightmare on Elm Street, we didn't think we would ever get the Terminator on 4K, especially not after the disaster that was T2 on 4K, which hopefully we get a re-release of that at some point. But look, the big question, guys, is this a disaster too? It is James Cameron. Look, I was on the ground floor. I reviewed True Lies. I reviewed The Abyss. I reviewed Aliens back in March on 4K. There was a lot of varying opinions on those releases. Some loved them, some hated them. Some were kind of in the middle and just grateful that they had them on HD for the first time, in some cases with True Lies and The Abyss. You know, I thought they were okay. I thought most of them were fine. The Abyss was probably the best of the three, in my opinion. But I have my pros, I have my cons, my positives, my negatives. I reviewed them all. If you want to check out my thoughts on those, go check them out. But there were positives. There were negatives. They were not perfect releases. Is the Terminator the perfect 4K release? Did they finally get it right? Did James finally get it right with one of his films on 4K? That's going to be the big question. And look, we did get Titanic last year on 4K. That was met with mostly positive reviews, not too much negativity surrounding that. So I guess I can't say, you know, did he finally get it right? Because I feel like with Titanic, it was a good 4K that most of the people enjoyed. I actually haven't seen the Avatars on 4K. I'm assuming those probably look good, but they're more modern films. Did he finally get it right with one of his classics from the 80s and 90s? That's what we're going to answer here today with the Terminator. This is his first, like, real film. I know he worked on Piranha 2 and was kind of director on that and everything, but most people would say that the Terminator is his first, like, real film, the one that kind of kickstarted his career in directing. Did they get it right? That's what we're going to answer here today, guys. I'm going to talk about the movie as well. We're talking about the 4K. We'll talk about all things this release. But before we get into it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about physical media on this channel, guys. Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love. All that stuff there behind me every single day. If you like that kind of stuff, that kind of content, hit the subscribe button. We got Blazing Saddles on 4K. I just got North by Northwest on 4K. Tons of 4K reviews coming, guys, so definitely stick around for those. And then, you know, like the video and comment down below, guys, how do you feel about the Terminator? Is this your favorites in the franchise? Most people would say T2. That's definitely the fan favorite, but I feel like as the years go on, more people kind of latch on to the first Terminator film. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you're going to get this 4K or you're going to go with the 4K Steelbook, or did you go with the 4K Steelbook? I should say, because that 4K Steelbook's actually sold out. Hopefully at some point it comes back in stock like the Nightmare on Elm Street Steelbook did as well, because I think that was back on Amazon for a period of time. So hopefully the Terminator 4K Steelbook comes back in stock. I pre-ordered the 4K Steelbook because I'm getting this slipcover version from Warner Brothers to review. I've got the Steelbook on the way, so I'm going to end up having both in the collection. Just couldn't resist. I love the Terminator so much, so I got to have all things. Look, there's never too much Terminator, and there can never be too much Terminator in your collection is what I meant to say, guys. But I'm just excited. I'm going to be tripping. I'm going to be stumbling over my words talking about this 4K because there are things to say, and it may surprise you what I have to say about this 4K here today. But let's talk about the movie for a little bit, guys. James Cameron's, or Jim Cameron, whatever you want to call him, guys. First real movie, first real, like, big blockbuster sci-fi action horror elements as well in this movie. I know I'm not the first person to say it, but there are definitely slasher elements in this movie. To deny that this film has slasher elements, that Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800 is not like Jason Voorhees, he's not like Michael Myers, the way he stalks and takes out his victims. Yeah, he has a gun instead of a knife. It's very similar. Like, there are some legitimately, like, terrifying, spooky moments in this movie, and it's very tense and very scary throughout. I think Arnold like honestly is scarier than Jason and Michael Myers. Like first off, he's like huge and like super menacing, but like just the way he just stoically stands there and stares at people, just the look on his face, how he keeps his composure the entire time. It's frightening, Arnold, in this movie. And he's huge. Like, he's the most jacked he's ever been, I think, in any movie. Maybe Conan the Barbarian, he was similar because that was like, you know, the same time frame. I think Conan the Destroyer came out actually the same year as the Terminator. But this is such a cool movie. I really am growing to love this movie so much in my adult years because when I was a kid, I was all about T2. I watched T2 over and over again. That was my favorite movie. I probably saw the first one maybe once, maybe twice in my younger years. But T2 was I think I saw T2 first, actually, probably when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Really latched onto that movie. And I heard that Arnold was the villain in the first one, and I just never wanted to see that. Like, I loved Arnold as the hero in the second one, so I was just like, let me live in that world and just watch T2. And then I finally watched the first Terminator a number of years later. I was probably like 15 or 16 or something like that, and I was like, this is good, but I just prefer T2. So that was always the movie I returned to. In recent years, though, I find myself returning to the first Terminator more. I was excited for this 4K because every time I get the opportunity to go back and watch this movie again and have an excuse to watch this movie again, I jump on it. Like, I don't get the urge to watch T2 as often anymore just because I spent so much of my life watching it, but I haven't spent enough time with the Terminator. So every time I get to rewatch this movie, it's truly a special experience because it keeps growing on me as a movie. It's just such a cool melding of sci-fi and action and horror with a really cool story. Really great characters and performances by Linda Hamilton's great. Michael Biehn is great in this film. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, is great in the movie. You got Lance Henriksen in this film for a period of time, but it's just such a great movie that's just growing on me more and more. Just how it moves and how it escalates. Like, it basically, like, it starts and it doesn't let up until the end. Kind of like the second Terminator. A little bit starts and it doesn't let up until the very end. Like, this one's very similar. So I don't know, guys, like at some point in the future, like I think I could honestly see the Terminator being my favorite of the franchise. Like, every time I watch it, I fall in love with the movie all over again. It's just such a cool movie. And the score by Brad Fiedel, one of my favorite scores. I love it so much. It's so perfectly integrated throughout the film. Like, it honestly, like, the score in the movie feels like a character itself in the film. But everything about this movie, from the effects, the way it's shot, the way it looks, is just so freaking incredible. So I love the Terminator so much. One of my favorite movies of all time at this point in my life. Let's get into the 4K, guys. Look, I'm going to have some fun here with this 4K review because, look, there's a lot of people out there that's going to shit on this before they even watch it. And they're going to say, I'm not getting it because James Cameron, does a horrible job on his 4K upgrades and his transfers. Look at True Lies, look at The Abyss, look at Aliens. There's people out there who didn't like any of them. There are people that didn't even buy it because James Cameron did it. They're still sore about T2. There are people that won't even give this a chance. And everybody's going to be skeptical. And they're going to say, look, I'm not even going to get this because it's going to be crap. I know it's going to be crap. And I'm not even going to waste my time with it. Well, look, guys, I'm here to tell you that this is, in fact, a dog shit transfer. This looked horrible all throughout. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm kidding. I'm absolutely kidding. This looked great. This looked freaking awesome. It looked amazing. Like, to the point I'm watching the movie, I'm like, James Cameron directed this, right? This is a James Cameron movie. How involved was he in the transfer? Because this actually looked like an actual film. Like, it had a filmic quality to it. It was a stellar 4K, guys, all the way throughout. It was very cleaned up. Like, I can see some people watching this on 4K and not being satisfied with it because it is kind of very clean, but not in the same way that True Lies was. Not in the same way True Lies was, or The Abyss, or Aliens, to be honest. It had that, like, clean quality. Like, it was very crisp, and the clarity was there. Great clarity, like, all throughout. There honestly wasn't a weak spot in the entire movie on 4K. The entire film, like, it looked great from beginning to end. Like, even the credits in the beginning, like, looked great. Like, everything looked great in this transfer. Pristine quality 4K, looked stellar, right? But it still had that grain structure. It still had that filmic look to it. Like, you felt like you were watching a movie from 1984 that was upgraded to 4K. It didn't feel like they were trying to make a movie from 1984 look like a film in 2024, which is kind of what his 4Ks that came out earlier this year looked like. It still looked like the Terminator from 1984. It had that more gritty, raw look to it, but it also looked fantastic throughout. The colors with the HDR, there's HDR, there's Dolby Vision here, guys. This is a native 4K restoration. Like I said, I don't know how heavily like James Cameron was involved in this. I imagine he was involved in it because they didn't treat this one the same way that they did with the ones that came out through Disney. You know, James Cameron didn't do new special features where he talked about the upgrade and the transfer and the restoration and the legacy of the movie. So I don't know how heavily James Cameron was involved in this. And I think he did a documentary on Titanic as well, or a new feature on Titanic as well. So I don't know how heavily he was involved in the Terminator on 4K. I imagine he was involved because I see James Cameron as being the type that wants to be involved in his 4K restorations, but also like maybe because that whole story came out with him being frustrated about people commenting on his 4Ks and being frustrated with his 4K quality. And him lashing out and saying that we're just a bunch of basement dwellers that have nothing better to do with our time than critique his 4K upgrades. Like, I could honestly see him just saying, I'm going to set this one out. Warner Brothers, you just do whatever it is you do. But I honestly don't think that was the case because that story came out like a few months ago and they've probably been working on this for well over a year. So I think Cameron was involved in this. So I don't know like what it was. Maybe he just has a greater respect for this film because it's his first movie. But this looked phenomenal. Like the HDR and the Dolby Vision, like all the incredible colors. Like the club scene is a standout in this movie. Like when Linda Hamilton, when Sarah Connor's in the club, all the pink neon lights and stuff, and the smoky like aesthetic in there, like the smoke that, you know, is in this movie, like in the club and also like in the police station office when they're smoking in there. All that looks great, but that club sequence, guys, when Arnold Schwarzenegger comes up and he points the laser gun at her head, and all that stuff just looks incredible. There's not a lot of this movie takes place in the daytime, but there are some daytime scenes in the movie, and they all look great as well. Like the truck that she drives at the end of the movie, like that looked fantastic with the 4K and the HDR. So many incredible colors, but the actual like robot himself, like the T-800, like when he sheds his skin, that looked phenomenal. Like the entire ending sequence looks so great. So I could gush about the 4K quality of this movie like all day because it made me so happy. And especially after the disaster that was Terminator 2 on 4K, it's like, God, we needed this. We needed a good Terminator on 4K. You know, that classic Terminator on 4K. We needed this to look as good as it does. Like we really did. And one more thing I'll say about this 4K, guys, this is actually on a 100 gigabyte disc. So Warner Brothers does not always do that. Twister was on a 66 gigabyte disc. Now in the UK it was on 100 gigabyte, but Nightmare on Elm Street was on 66 gigabyte. So they don't do that a lot. And I'm wondering if James Cameron had something to do with that because his other films were also on 100 gigabyte discs. But I think that is one of the reasons why this looked so good, because it had so much room to breathe. So again, guys, in pretty much every way possible, they delivered on the 4K restoration of the Terminator. Now, getting into the sound, you do have the Dolby Atmos. You also have Dolby True HD 7.1. So they got a new Atmos track for this release. So that's definitely something people will be excited about. They also have the older 2.0 track as well. So if you're a purist and you want to listen to it the old school way, you can do that as well. You can go back and forth between the Atmos and you can listen to it in the 2.0. Now, I listened to it with the Atmos. I've just got a sound bar that kind of simulates the Atmos with the subwoofer as well. It sounded fantastic. Like the beginning of the movie, like when that ship first flies overhead, like you feel that. And like I said, the score is so amazing. Like it's so immersive. It's such a part of the film, a character in the film. Like it all sounded great in that Dolby Atmos. So no issues with the sound. Really cool that they upgraded this to Dolby Atmos. Now getting into the packaging, guys, I actually really like the artwork on this. I know Warner Brothers gets shit for their artwork sometimes, but I actually think this is really good artwork. Like this is some of the best that they've done in my opinion. For sure. I really like that red and black aesthetic on the back. So you got the synopsis up there. You got some images. You got the T800 on the side. And I'll kind of zoom in, trying to not have this so blurry. You got the specs and all that stuff on the bottom. You got the spine. Did I show off the spine, guys? Let's take it out of the slipcover. Bam. You got the cover. You got the back. Got the back with the cast list. Open it up. You do have a digital code on the inside. And look at that, guys. You got disc arts for the Terminator. How cool is that? How cool is that? I like it, guys. I like it. I'm a simple man. I like disc art. You know, it does it for me. And I think Warner Bros. Actually been getting better about putting disc art on their releases. Now, getting into the special features, guys, there's nothing new. You know, there's nothing new, and that's nothing new for Warner Brothers, to be honest. And it kind of, you know, makes me wonder, like, how involved was James Cameron in this release? Like, did Warner Brothers not want him to do like a new interview for this? Because he did it for all of his other ones, like Titanic. There's a new interview with James Cameron, The Abyss, Aliens, True Lies, all new interviews. In some cases, there were new documentaries for those as well. Like, did they not want that for this release? Was it going to cost too much? Was he not willing to do it? I've got questions, because if he did it for all of his other films, why wouldn't he want to come back and talk about the Terminator? And the special features that are on this, like, they're good, but they're from the DVD from back in 2005. So it's like 19 years ago. Like, we need something new for the Terminator. This movie's too iconic. Like, and that's the reason why I will champion movies like this, iconic movies like this, to come out from boutique labels, because they'll give it their all, and they'll put new special features on it, and it'll look great on 4K. Not that this didn't look great on 4K, and I don't doubt the studio's abilities to give us great 4K transfers, because they've done it, but like, they don't put any effort into the special features. And for a movie like this, like, we want the best for it. Like, that's why I will champion a movie like this to come out from Arrow Video. I want all the features. I want the cool packaging. I want all the stuff for a movie like this, for a movie that I love. So the fact that they couldn't put new special features on this, I just think it's kind of inexcusable at this point. So that's the one, like, big criticism that I will, you know, kind of put on Warner Bros. Now, I will say this is only $25 right now, so it's a perfectly affordable 4K to get. The Steelbook, like I said, is sold out, but it was $30, so it's not like they're charging you an arm and a leg for this. The price is definitely not bad for what you're getting. Now, you're only getting a 4K and you're not getting a Blu-ray, but still not bad for a really awesome 4K upgrade with Dolby Atmos, and some people, that's all they care about. But there you have it, guys. That is my review of the Terminator on 4K. Now, again, the big question is, if you have this Blu-ray, is it worth upgrading this James Cameron film on 4K? And for that question, I say 100% yes. This looked so much better than the Blu-ray, and it's actually a great James Cameron 4K upgrade. I can't believe I'm saying it, but it's true. Thank you all so much for watching this review. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.